They had it listed as a teach-in, so I changed my slide to include teach-in. But I think maybe it's appropriate for this particular event because there are a number of us on this call who actually remember the first Earth Day 50 years ago. And that was about the time the term teach-in came into general use. Now, soon after sit-in, we had teach-ins, right?
The worst part is I'm alive.
So this will be in that spirit, which I guess, as far as I'm concerned, is really defined as something that's not very formal, not so much about giving out answers, but asking questions. So hopefully we'll all kind of take it in that vein. Not going to present anything earth-shattering in terms of results here. It's more about, okay, Guido, yes, you may come in, Guido. And more about just talking a little bit about this year's Earth Week theme. And because we can't have any in-person events through this upcoming Earth Week this year, what are we going to do instead of that? And so this is kind of like a kickoff event for that. And we already have at least three more things planned, virtual events planned around the Earth Week theme, but we certainly could use more. So if we come up with some interesting topics during this hour, that'll be great. Maybe we can put together another web event like this to cover that topic. So just kind of to get things started here a little bit, what is this celebration? Chemists Celebrate Earth Week. What are we celebrating? And it is a little special this year because it's the 50th anniversary of Earth Day coming up back in 1970. And I was a junior in high school then. And I actually remember in the high school, we were a somewhat progressive school, so we weren't afraid of these sort of environmentally conscious things, as many places were 50 years ago. We have met the enemy and he is us, which appeared a year later in the first anniversary of Earth Day in the Pogo comic strip, which went out of circulation very soon after that, unfortunately. But those of us who grew up with Pogo know very much about this cute little hedgehog guy. And their point here really was that no matter where you were, even if you thought you were in the forest primeval, as it says here, there was a lot of human junk around that you had to step around. And so that's really kind of the theme of Earth Day right from the beginning. And I think still today, 50 years later, is that everything we do impacts planet Earth one way or another. And so we have to be thinking harder and harder about what it is we do and how we can make that change and not something that's devastating to the environment and eventually devastating to us. So it's good to think about what's happened over the past 50 years. Has anything changed? And here's an area where I think we all have our own ideas about what has changed and not. So this is really kind of my own impressions, personal impressions here to start off with. Certainly some of the things we've seen over the last 50 years, diversification of energy sources. 50 years ago, things like solar and wind were just dreams. No one was really seriously doing it at all. But now they have become something significant, not just blips in a graph. They really are coming on. And along with that, I think very importantly, and this is something I can say myself, I was surprised really to see it happening as quickly as it did, much aided and abetted by the oil shocks of the 1970s, was pressure to conserve energy. So it's not only diversifying energy sources, but also just using less energy. And that's a theme that goes all through this as well. If we get to talking about the waste hierarchy, is the first step to take is, do I have to use that at all? How can I use less of it? That's always the first question to ask before you start asking about other things around reuse and recycling and so forth. tougher environmental laws. That's what really kicked off the first Earth Day, was some very, very significant environmental issues, rivers catching fire and so forth, birds dying en masse. And so we do, I think, 50 years on, have tougher environmental laws. I say laws because, of course, there's laws and then there's enforced laws. So unfortunately, here recently, I think we've got some potential laxity in enforcement of some of these laws, but we have made steps in terms of legislation to protect the environment. Acceleration of climate change is not something most people were talking about 50 years ago that I remember, but it certainly now has come very much to the forefront of our minds. What else is there in terms of challenges that we have?
I think just in general with science, we have a lot of the public that are just afraid or uneducated in the sciences. And if they have more understanding about science, they're going to understand how they have an individual impact on the world around them.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And that's, I think, one of the primary reasons why we have Chemistry Week and Earth Week is, you know, these are opportunities for us as more scientifically knowledgeable people, let's say, to get out into the community and teach about scientific approaches and how to evaluate results that you see, because there are many results that are not so scientifically derived, let's say, and how is it that an ordinary person can filter their way through those and evaluate what's really significant and what perhaps is not.
Yeah. And I think there's also an onus on the scientists in the world to educate the people that are leading the country and leading the world, because a lot of the people in the government don't really have that science background.
So, right. So we be sure to invite them to our outreach events.
I think Lindsay's right. I think highlighting how chemistry applies to so many things is important. I mean, people don't think or appreciate the fact that chemistry is around them all the time. They are a living chemical reaction. So like I posted a video to my class that talked about hand sanitizers versus soaps and why soaps are so much better for combating the COVID. I mean, just simple things like that and understanding that chemistry.
Good, yes.
I think that one of the, sorry, Guido. I think one of the, hi, thanks everyone, all of you, obviously we're all at home. I think that one of the saddest things that happened, and it's only happened in the past, that's five years, is that all these issues that you talked about, just, you know, have become politicized. And it strikes me as incredible that the statistic of something like this, perhaps, you know, 50–60% of Democrats believe that there is a man-derived effect on climate, whereas only a few percent of Republicans deny or are skeptical that it exists. And it just boggles my mind. You know, I didn't grow up in America. How such a thing could ever happen? How could basic issues that affect the future of the planet be so heavily politicized? And that heavy politicization, that division, that chasm, if you like, between their political parties, actually affects many things. It affects major decisions by the government. And everything else. We've seen it, of course, vividly in the race for the nominee, and it's something that I'm trying to understand for myself now. Okay, there are obvious things. There is the impact of the oil lobby and everything else, and people like that for which the present Republicans are very. Of course, very supportive of, and there are, many shocking things along the way. For example, the way that major news channels degraded the young girl activist from, on climate change, ridiculed her, made fun of her, as is, of course, our president. Uh, it's, I don't know if anyone seems to offer, it's not chemistry, but it really deeply affects the pursuit of chemistry, and it brings about a kind of skepticism on science, because the man in the street, as it were, says, well, look, who do we believe? Um, the climate activists, are they going too far? Or the climate skeptics, or the total climate deniers, of which they would say, I'm one of them, so why should I bother? So this range of opinion, range of political opinion, on things which shouldn't just be opinion. Now of course, as I think Lindsay said, I believe Lindsay said that part of it is due to a poor background in science. That's definitely a factor. So that people don't have the methodology to be critical about things. But anyway, I'm just wondering to try to help my understanding if anyone could comment, if anyone has an answer to all of this divisiveness that on today's subject. Okay, please.
Yeah, Guido, I think that's a really good point, and to my mind, it feeds very much into what Lindsay was saying. Without education in science, at least up to a certain level, it's very easy for people to believe some of what we regard as wild and crazy statements that are made by politicians.
It is National Health Week, and so I've been seeing a lot on my Twitter feed about Earth Week, Public Health Week, and what I see from every source is that the public has zero concept that you can't just create a supply of drugs and stick them on the shelf for 30 years until we need them. It doesn't, you have to keep them maintained and fresh. Or the thing with the masks, that a lot of them were dry rotted because they just sat around for so many years, that the public doesn't get the concept that we have to invest in the good times for keeping the stockpiles good. And the idea that people are like, well, why can't we get a vaccine in 2 or 3 weeks? We need it now. But the reality is it will take, Dr. Fauci was saying it would take 12 to 18 months, and he is one of the leading experts in the world. You can't go from the way it is now 12 to 18 months and do it in 2 or 3 weeks. But the general population has zero concept of that whatsoever. And a number of legitimate people in the field are constantly expressing this on social media, and they're constantly getting shot down. But the thing is, the public really doesn't overly trust the scientists. They just, for whatever reason, they just say, oh, well, somebody on TV said it could be done in 2 weeks. But that is in no way reality, and I have no idea how to fix that. We probably can't, but it certainly is something that the scientific profession has dealt with forever.
Yeah. John Freeman just said a chatter. I just gotta look at it here. One of the things he was bringing up is the fact that if you go back 50 years to the first Earth Day, that also coincided with the arising of the so-called organic movement, organic foods, so forth, became very popular around that time, and sort of the dichotomy between things being organic and things being chemical. So sort of a use of the word chemical that we as chemists don't appreciate very much, but has become very common, again, here as we talk about the reaction of society at large to chemist activities, is that if you say chemical or chemistry, how can chemistry help? People would immediately say, absolutely not. Chemistry is bad. And we've talked about this a number of times in our strategy meetings, I know. How do we change that perception of chemistry? So thanks for that, John. So some of the other things, trying to look at specific sustainability challenges, and of course, as George pointed out in his piece in the this year's CCEW pamphlet, there is a United Nations set of sustainable goals. Welcome, Donna. Hello, Donna. There is a set of UN sustainability goals, and some of the things that the group this year chose to focus on included plastic pollution and the opportunities in biodegradable plastics, biodegradable polymers as a potential solution to that. But of course, the other thing is how much of these packaging materials that are plastic-based that unfortunately don't even wind up in a landfill, they just wind up directly in the environment. How much of that do we really need? That's why we have the neat little experiment on the edible water pods. It's kind of a very extreme but clever example of how you could eliminate a package, just eliminate the whole package. The water recycled globally, and how we're dealing with recycling of water within various processes and treatments of waste. Renewable resources and processes. Obviously, this is very much and has been for a long time a focus of chemistry. Any process that involves chemistry is a question. You always have the question of what are my raw materials, what am I going to source, and what sort of a process am I going to run. I have a choice usually between running one that may be cheap but creates a lot of waste versus one that's more expensive but generates a lot less waste. And then, of course, you get back to the climate change issue and continue to accelerate our development of alternative or clean energy sources. So I guess the question really for us as chemists, and should be central to CCEW every year, is what can chemistry do to help, not only in terms of giving us better information on what we need to be concerned about, but also then being able to provide us some part at least of the solutions for those issues as they arise. So one of the things I thought about, not originally when I put this together, but as I thought about it a little more is, the CCEW is developed by ACS, and these days it's very much a global kind of background that's being used, which is very appropriate since we're all sort of one ecosystem, one planet. But I think as we review this as a local section of ACS, one thing we probably want to think about is, well, what are our concerns here in our area? So I put together some things as well on just my own meanderings, and I'm hoping you guys can help a lot refine this. What are the environmental concerns around the Lehigh Valley area? So this is in the brochure, a very nice little graphic kind of showing what's happened over the 50 years since the first Earth Day, and pointing out some of the advances and some of the new issues that have come up over those 50 years. And the UN sustainability goals. And again, many of these are more societal things, but there are a number that obviously have to do a lot with chemists and chemistry. And George, of course, in his little article focused on this number 14 here, life below water. Was there anything you wanted to say about that, George?
Well, there was an online article as well that had a little bit more, but in the print edition, they had limited space. So I did post that one about the life below water. And I did have references to certain things such as, straws that were made from seaweed, that they would be far more biodegradable once they get into the water, as well as other things that we were trying to do to help protect life. And I wish that they had used the other article because it was more of a general base, but it was designed, since we're designing it for elementary school age children, it had to be put in that way. But I mean, I don't know if all of you have seen the this chart here, but it's certainly posting up all over the place. And it's certainly it's a good framework, I think, that if we're really trying to legitimately do something to help the environment and help the earth and do something that actually is more than just doing a lot of talk, but it's actually valuable, then I think this really is a great framework, because this is something that's being used worldwide, and anything that we could do to identify an area and make use of it is certainly something that would be a positive thing to do. It's quite possible that in January or February next year, I may very well be speaking on this topic at my local engineering society's annual dinner, which I thought was pretty nice, that they were like, wow, yeah, we would totally like that. So it's really nice that this is becoming more of the forefront. And if you look at it, I mean, they really are, the 17 goals really are very basic and simple. And if you click on the links on the main page, you can break it down into much more complex things, but they really are something that I've been trying to make use of them as much as I can. And I think that in future publications, it's really great that, ACS was able to put that into their newsletter, into their, CCEW magazine, because it's something that really is becoming more valuable as time goes on. And we are planning on, the theory is that they picked things that would be done by 2030. Now, obviously, in 10 years from now, will poverty and gender equality and all these, will they be achieved? I can't imagine they will, but anything that is done to assist in that way is certainly the goal of this.
Going to invite us to your talk next January, February?
Well, it would be, I could do that. It would be during engineering week in February, and yeah, I can invite you. I don't know if you'll make the trip. Maybe you should.
This is also something.
Where is it?
It would be at New Windsor, New York. So it would be about a 3-hour drive for you guys.
Go ahead, please. Many of the things here which you are very much a part of.
Guido, I can't hear you.
My connection is unstable. Yes, I was just going to say that many of these goals, can you hear me? Many of these goals, of sustainable development goals, were actually touted in Congress as the green and New Deal movement by the congressman from New York, Congress lady from New York. And again, this has been vilified and vilified, not just criticized, but vilified in the public domain as an absurdity. It's been used, well, it's essentially being vilified. And again, there's this incredible polarization. Instead of people, accepting many of these, it's become a black mark against people who have produced it. So perhaps I'm voicing something because I did not grow up in this country, and when I was overseas, I had this very rosy view of America and its wisdom, and now I'm really set back by seeing this alarm and criticism and vile criticism, really, of people that have publicly pronounced similar goals of no poverty, climate action, and so on and so forth. It's I don't know. It's something that really troubles me. So again, I don't know.
My experience from industry, Guido, I mean, I don't know if you had the same experience, was that oftentimes it was, painted as the American way versus the European way, particularly as the European Union began to be stronger and a bit more countries and so forth, maybe a stronger competitor coming out of the devastation of World War II. You know, they had their own way, you know. And you often hear about people talking about the Euros and even the scans. Maybe you remember that, as though they were different people, you know. So I think there's a lot of that, and that certainly, that kind of thinking certainly resonates well with many of the communities here. That anything that comes out of that area should be viewed with suspicion.
It sounds foreign, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. Now, there's still that vein of xenophobia in America, unfortunately, even though we're a country of immigrants. Shouldn't be, but it is. So thinking a little bit about educational goals, and this is what's in the brochure, and again, as was mentioned, it's by George, it's targeted for elementary school, I guess ages 6 to 9 kind of thing. What would we be educating the public about? And so we won't just confine ourselves to young people, but just about anybody really. If we were out there, which we can't be doing the outreach in person, but we could do it virtually, what should we be doing? And again, I just did a little bit of a stream of consciousness here myself. So please, let's discuss and add to this list. But no Planet B, I think that's cute, but also so real. I mean, we're not going to find anywhere else to go anytime soon, if at all, outside of this world. So we better take care of it. And everything we do, as Pogo was trying to tell us, impacts the global ecosystem. There's no way around it. There's no way to avoid it. So we have to understand it and then act appropriately. The whole waste hierarchy, that's something I think that people here in the United States are not as aware of. I think, again, this is an area where Europe has a little bit more awareness of this. They've been sensitive for a longer time to lack of landfill space, for example. Landfill being the least desirable but catch-all solution to waste. We've had so much space for landfill here that we kind of turned a blind eye to dumping all this stuff in there. In Europe, they didn't have that luxury from back a number of years already, and so they had to find other solutions.
I will tell you, Nigel, my sophomore class coming back from London, they really noticed the lack of plastic over there. They were really dumbstruck by it. And they actually, a lot of them said they were going to try to make sure when they came back to the United States, they thought about that, because none of the food was packaged in plastic. None of it was handed to you in a plastic bag. It wasn't done.
Yeah, and that's an example of reduce, which is always the first question is how much of something do you need? And the answer may be 0. You may in fact not need that. And if you don't need it, then let's not demand it, because if we demand it, then we'll have to do something with it after it has run to the end of its useful life. And that's our problem.
Sometimes, it's also the challenge of educating people as to what the balance between use and recycle is. For instance, I was reading about a week ago that they did a survey. There was a study in England which showed the relative environmental impact of reusable plastic bags, of plain plastic bags that they shower on us at the grocery store, and the polypropylene carriers that you can buy for $1 or $2. And it turns out that if you give the environmental value of the plastic bag as 1, In other words, it's you use it once and you throw it away. You would have to use the polypropylene, bags that you buy. I think the answer was like 36 times for the same ecological impact. Okay, something like that. And people, that was only just recently been reported, and I certainly didn't know that. And certainly, I've seen arguments before that plastic bags are okay, and so on. And in fact, I believe from my local supermarket that plastic bags are been banned, will be banned, or will be removed from supermarkets in Pennsylvania pretty soon. So I think a better understanding of what's really worth recycling and what's not, and how to deal with waste would be there. And this is, this could be done with a lot of education of the public, from the people that manage waste, from people that have to store it, and local government and so on. I'm surprised that there's very little of such things. So it's no surprise that people don't care. Everything can just be thrown away. Not much, and regardless of what it is, plastic or not.
Yeah, I actually stole this. I should have given the credit here. I actually stole this image from a waste management company's website. So it's good to see that the waste management companies are talking about this. And this is something, again, came out of Europe, this sort of conceptualization. And people need to be informed so that they can make rational decisions. Once they're informed and can use their brains to make these decisions, then we will have improvement, as Jean was saying her students noticed. If you don't need it, don't ask for it. And then we won't have to worry about what happens to it. Reuse whenever possible. So the reusable bags, if you can get 36 or maybe 3,600, I don't know, reuses of that for a given application as a shopping bag or whatever it happens to be. That is just a tremendous factor of reduction in terms of use of materials and the generation of waste. And only if you can't reuse it, then you recycle it to hopefully an alternative use. So a lot of these plastic bags just get chopped up and used into low-grade materials, including some lower grades of plastics. I know a fellow named Pat Kelly who's built a business around recycling stuff like that into plastic fencing and so forth. And then there's biodegradability, composting of materials. It's another form that you can recycle materials into. That's a preferable solution to anything else. It's only when you can't do that, there's no alternative use, it's not biodegradable, then you have to do something else. And in Europe, in a lot of places, that's something else. If there is energy value to be had, organic content, let's say, you try to recover energy value from it. So it's particularly true in the Nordic countries, to reduce the volume of material that then now has zero energy value and can only be landfilled.
I have a slightly different spin on plastic bags. In my county in New York, starting in October, they banned the use of single-use plastic bags in retail stores. And they started selling reusable bags everywhere, and that became throughout all of New York State on March 1st. Well, because of the pandemic, what they have done is they have brought back the plastic bags, and they are requiring people to not bring in. They put signs up on when you come in the doors, leave your recyclable, reusable bags home. Don't bring them into the store. We're using plastic bags again. So in the short-term solution, they went back very quickly to using the plastic. There's really not necessarily a right or a wrong answer. Unfortunately, it's not always that cut and dry. Just like, for instance, we are very globalized with bringing supplies in from around the world. And now that we have supply chain issues, something that has come up a lot is, can't we make more stuff in the United States that we're not as dependent Now, there really isn't necessarily a right answer or a wrong answer because it's just too complex, but we've certainly learned about the disruption in the supply chain as a result of this, as well as numerous other issues.
Yeah, that's happened around here too, George. Hopefully short term, as short as possible, so we get it back on track with this economic upset. But yeah, that's right. There are always downsides to another approach. So maybe you need to have an antimicrobial reusable bag.
What would that do to the effectiveness of how many times you have to reuse it to get your money's worth out of it then, though?
Well, you just come up with a better antimicrobial. I got you. So other things, you know, having spent a career in industry, of course, we were always making products based on cost versus performance equation, the two things combining to give something that we called value. But of course, one of the things I think that's happened over the 50 years since the first Earth Day is that all companies have begun to realize that environmental health and safety, EHS, is the third leg of that stool. You really have to be doing a good job with that. You have to be thinking about it. And it's not just in the sense of if something is bad enough, possibly you red flag it.
Do you want me to get you something, like a coffee? Okay.
Coffee sounds great.
Sorry, that was my daughter is getting a coffee. Sorry.
I'm getting McDonald's because I'm hungry.
Oh, okay. Watch
Sorry
out
about
with
that.
packaging. But now it's really to the level where it's not just a red flag, you know, don't do this product because of that, but really have to integrate it into your total thinking of product design. So, you know, chemistry to me anyway is, you know, again, has two different aspects, at least two, which is, you know, primary route for identifying things that are going wrong or could go wrong and then finding the solutions for them. So I think that's, in my mind, another thing that we would do well in all of our outreach activities to emphasize in terms of what is the role of chemistry in making the earth a better place. So let me just quickly turn here to our local area. And I have to admit, first off, that my expertise in this area is rather limited. But I think there's some on this call who know quite a lot more, have been more involved in it. So who are we in terms of an area? Well, if we take the section area, it's the 6 counties in PA listed there and Warren County, New Jersey. It's interesting that we always scratch our heads about why is Warren County part of us? And I think there's demographic reasons for that, but turns out also interestingly, and I didn't expect this, that it's also generally considered part of the airshed for the Lehigh Valley. So maybe there was some sense to that. Talk about the watersheds that we have here, Lehigh, Schuylkill, and Delaware River ecosystems. You know, what sort of things can happen or have happened, be concerned of course, runoff, particularly as there's been more and more conversion of agricultural land to residential or industrial uses. That becomes more and more of a concern. I certainly know that in the relatively new development that I live in here in Bethlehem Township. And of course, waste disposal issues play into that. And we all probably, or most of us, see every year a drinking water quality analysis from our local water supplier. Usually I remember seeing that everything is okay. But since it comes from the supplier, you always have to wonder. But these are the kind of things that are areas for chemistry to be and is actively worrying about. I don't know if anyone has any stories around watersheds or water quality.
I'm holding out for later down the line here, but what I'm thinking about is one of the environmental issues that's been ongoing is with the New Jersey Zinc Company up in Palmerton that's now defunct, but the long-lasting impact on the land, agricultural land and soil, the water has always been a focus for environmentalists since they closed.
Correct. So yeah, that's that potentially, of course, it was a not only a land and water thing, but back when New Jersey Zinc was operating, it was very much an airshed issue as well. In fact, we've had a lot of, Bethlehem Steel, obviously historically was a major contributor to all of these things, but now being shut down, it's not. So was there something more, Lindsay, you wanted to say about that?
So just a sub thing on the New Jersey Zinc site. We did a research project up there a couple of years ago, and one of the things that's been discovered of late is that once you address the acidification issue, it is bringing the soil back pretty quickly. And so they have done 3 different lining applications. And once the area is limed, the flora seems to recover pretty quickly. And once the flora starts recovering, you get, of course, the rest of the forest coming in terms of the animal life.
What was your project focused around, John?
We were initially looking at bacteria and working with the people who manage the area. They actually have a DEP person that's assigned to that area in terms of sampling and those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
We were, the heavy metal levels are much reduced from where they were.
Mm-hmm.
The immediate site is still a pretty heavily contaminated brownfield, but the mountainside has mostly recovered.
Yeah, because I was working on a project about 5 or 6 years ago with the botanist at Cedar Crest, and we were looking at soil samples for remaining lead and zinc and
yep.
And then the botanist, she was working with a student to look at what types of plants are able to thrive up there despite the conditions. And also to try to look at, there are like bare patches up there where there are patches on the mountain where they have plant growth and other patches where it's kind of barren. And
yeah, those patches are the patches that have been limed.
Right.
Those are the lime treatments.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good.
I know it's Hunterdon County, not Warren County. I just miss being in Warren and actually being in the Lehigh Valley by a 5-minute drive. But for us down here, we had the old paper mills. And they are super fun sites. They did just clean up the one, and finally, after I've been here 15 years, actually removed the entire building this past year and a half. So I don't know if it would be possible to have anyone that was involved in that give a talk, but the Superfund site was very interesting. And how
that's an idea. So this would be somebody who's perhaps worked for one of those companies, or are you thinking of someone from an environmental agency or a non-government group, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it impacts the Lehigh River. I mean, it's literally right next to it. And I know it was a lot of organics, toluene, benzene, those kinds of chemicals in the soil. I don't know. But that's something that literally is just wrapping up. So, and they have videos showing how they took it all down and stuff, that it could, maybe that would be an interesting talk.
Yeah, okay,
Urgent.
good. That's one of the things I was hoping would come out, is some ideas for talks or speakers, some of these
Yeah.
things.
I mean, it gets on the political side, but Ned Heindel is part of a group that is against the pipeline. Again, it gets into the political side, but you know, that whole pipeline is controversial, that maybe that is something too, like, why do we need it? Why don't we need it? What impact would it have?
Okay.
So.
Yeah. As far as like opportunities to learn about renewable energy in the valley, I've been looking into that because I taught a class last fall, well, the last two falls, which was a first year seminar class around energy literacy, and I wanted to find a way to have the students learn about renewable energy by actually seeing it. And so I was reaching out to contacts that I had to maybe visit a wind farm or visit a solar farm or something. I wasn't able to find anything in wind or solar, so I ended up taking my students up to the Susquehanna Steam Electric Plant, which is probably just out of our section. It's up in the Susquehanna section, but I think it might be a nice idea in the future when we could actually have people get together again, that we could look at having an event, even if it's like going to the solar farm at Moravian Academy or something, because I know that we have some contacts there.
Okay. Yeah,
then,
there's so many of those around now.
Right, and just to have people from all walks of life learn about how that works and that it's happening here in the Lehigh Valley and how we're benefiting from it.
Yeah, I think that's a great one.
Because the other contact I had was from when we had a special symposium, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, for the Pennsylvania Academy of Science on innovative renewable energy sources. And there was a really cool speaker who talked about wind power. And he's in Pennsylvania, and so I could reach out to him to see if he might be a future speaker.
Sure, I would say go ahead. So I was surprised, I guess I hadn't been following the news lately, that we're the 55th worst metro area in the country for smog, according to the American Lung Association anyway. EPA doesn't rate us quite so badly. We're not bad enough to be on their marginal list for things like ozone and particulates, but it isn't a shining example, let's say, of air quality for the country. I also saw that the EPA has a couple of areas in Berks County that are above the limits in lead.
Wow.
So there are some issues around in our area, and so that provides us some other things to focus on. Of course, one of the things that's happening here is the fact, as we all know, that we are seen as a very desirable commercial transportation hub and warehousing area, and that expansion is just happening at a crazy rate, in the opinion of many of us, and that is definitely going to have an impact, not only in land use spilling over into water impacts, but also in terms of air quality as well. So yeah, go ahead.
I take a back roads from, I cross over in Regalsville and then go to Hellertown. The number of warehouses and trucks along my back roads has gone absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 78 definitely is a truck route. I guess I could see that. At first I was kind of surprised, and then it kind of struck me as like, yeah, with all the trucks we have, yeah.
Now the warehouses are just going up everywhere like mushrooms, and in place of what was traditionally agricultural uses. So this is definitely something looking into the future, you know, next 50 years, let's say, this is going to be a big challenge for our area, the Lehigh Valley section area. So we probably should be thinking about getting more involved as a section in understanding these things.
Mm-hmm.
So John sent me another note. Portland Power Plant, when it was closed, considered third dirtiest in the nation. Okay, well, that's Portland, PA. I always have to look at that. I'm from Portland, Oregon, so.
Is that the Portland Cement Company?
He says power plant.
Oh, power plant. Oh.
Yeah, so there's 2 power plants on the Delaware River on the eastern edge of our territory. And it's the Portland plant and the Foul Rift plant. And they cleaned up Foul Rift, transferred all the pollution credits to Portland, and started using dirtier coal at Portland because it was cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and one of the more recent participants over the past couple of years is Bob Arts. I know he's been coming to a lot of the local meetings as well as the Iron Pigs game the last several years, and he's retired nuclear chemist. So he might be somebody that we could reach out to if he would be willing to give a talk about nuclear power, since it is emission free.
Is he related to Pamela Arts?
I do not know.
Okay.
He's on the edge of our 2 sections. Well, kind of.
He is not related to Pamela.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think he's down in Lansdale, but he was weighing his options whether he wanted to participate in the Lehigh Valley or the Philly section, and he chose to go north. So.
Okay. Very good. So what we have, of course, in the brochure from ACS for Chemists Celebrate Earth Week is some nice articles and suggested demonstrations. And in fact, if this is still on track, Jean and Greglin are going to put on some future webinars for us that are addressing 3 of these, as you can see down there. So, Jean, did you want to say anything about yours?
Unmute yourself.
Sorry. I'm used to having it not muted at all since I'm usually lecturing. So I'm still kind of fighting with how best to organize it. I have to have like the paper in different steps of the process because it takes, hours to make it. So I think I'm going to try to make it over the weekend, videotape it, and then insert those in and kind of embed them into the talk. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of struggling on how to best do it, but I've got lots of resources that I was going to put together a sheet that we can send out. Do you want to do it as a Zoom, Nigel? Because otherwise I can do it as a GoToMeeting.
Doesn't matter to me. I mean, if you want to do it with GoToMeeting, that's fine. I don't think the format necessarily is that critical. So yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to put that meeting together,
okay.
That's
then
great.
I'll build a GoToMeeting link and send that to you to send out again.
Yep.
Because it's next week already.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know how anybody else with teaching. I'm kind of been a little overwhelmed this week. All my technology failed me this morning. So my microphone wouldn't come up, my webcam wouldn't come up, my pencil wouldn't work. I finally got it all worked out, so now I got to go back and redo my entire lecture, record it, and post it. So my day has been kind of just in chaos this morning. But yeah, I'm still on. I think, you know, I'm going to have them make paper using some lint from the dryer and some recycled newspaper. And then I was thinking about having them make little cup bowls that they could then put some soil in and use them as seed starters for spring, is the idea of where I was going with it.
Okay. Sounds good. And then Greglin is going to do a couple others of those, do the water purification demonstration and the edible water pods demonstration. And I think she's going to videotape those. So they will be, I guess, live webinars, but she'll be showing a video, or several videos perhaps, video clips.
Yeah. I think that's the way mine's going to end up and playing out too.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine, because we all know doing a live demo is always a frightening experience.
I have a big storm that's just hitting my house. So if I lose you guys, I apologize.
Okay.
I've been getting all kinds of alerts from my phone saying that you've got a nice thunderstorm rolling in.
It is coming.
Alrighty.
It's coming. Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to come, but I think it's coming.
Well, the wind just picked up a lot right here, so, and it's starting to rain.
Yeah, we're just getting a little rain here.
Yeah.
So what other activities besides those that are suggested in the CCEW brochure, and this is the link to it up here, by the way, are people interested in, like to see, think would make a good virtual experience?
This wouldn't be for Earth Week, and of course it's, you know, it's Easter weekend now, but I just saw a really cool one that would be a fun activity that maybe we could just even put it out as like a newsletter thing, of using whipped cream and food coloring to tie-dye eggs, hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, okay.
Rather than using the shaving cream, because that way you can actually eat the eggs. I thought that was kind of a fun one for talking about chemistry. But again, not really an Earth Week, but it would be kind of just another fun thing to include in the newsletter for this weekend while you're making Easter eggs.
If you can get eggs.
If you can get eggs.
Yeah. Yeah,
I did not yesterday.
If you got a link or something to that, I'd appreciate seeing it.
Yeah.
So after I sent out the announcement for the poetry contest on Friday, I've gotten a response back from one local educator who's sending the information on to her chemistry students. I'd have to double check to see what school that was from, but she said she was very excited to see that there was something she could pass on to her students.
Okay. So yeah, have you not gotten any poems yet, or you have?
I have not gotten any poems, but we still have like 4 weeks or.
Right, we have almost a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, whatever I can do to publicize it further.
Yeah, I plan to send out another announcement out to the same email list. I think I got one bounce back that one of the teachers was out on maternity leave, but they had an email to forward information to somebody else who was covering the classes. But I want to send out another announcement in another 2 weeks, just as a reminder. But yeah, that's going out to that email list that you sent me, Nigel.
Okay.
Yeah, and well, with the online submission format, they said that we won't see any of the submitted poems until the deadline. They're just going to forward them to us after that.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you won't. there may be more and we just don't know about them yet.
Yeah, yeah. But with our initial advertisement before it went fully digital, still didn't get any. But that's kind of normal.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing, if we were in person with things or outreach activities, it's a perfect time to hand out things and suggest, people get kids involved, but we can't do it that way this year.
Well, and they just announced today that the Pennsylvania schools are going to be closed for the rest of the school year, I think.
That's correct.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I have 2 grandkids at home. all the time.
Oh, it was Audrey Smeltzer.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
So, Muhlenberg High School, that's down near Reading, I think.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, she's a long time section member as well, so she usually responds.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is really all. We'll come up to the hour mark, and I booked an hour and a half, but we can take any more time we want. Are there any other questions or ideas that anybody has in this virtual new normal that we have? What we could be doing for Earth Week?
In case you're not aware of it, I want to tell you about a so-called community solar bill that's in the House of Representatives at the moment, but also on the Senate. It's there for consideration. And the idea is that a group of solar development companies want to get together and under the organization, as it were, of this bill, be able to build a community solar project. It would include perhaps a large area of land that would be used as a solar farm. Individual owners from people who would like to have some solar energy delivered can or would be able to invest in the project and as a return on their investment receive a discount on the electricity bill. Mm-hmm. So this is a very interesting way to have increase the development of solar energy within Pennsylvania. The bill has been tabled and it's I can give you more details if you're not familiar with it, and it would be good to have support from the technical community of this bill, because it would enable a kind of a person, an owner of a residence that would like to participate in using some renewable energy, but of course could not afford to put stuff on their roof for various reasons. And with a small investment, at least get a return in terms of the reduction of the electricity bill. So anyway, I just want to mention that. As I said, I'll give you more details if you want. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that, Guido. Yeah, it's any way you can get around the rather sizable capital investment in solar power is a way to push it forward faster. Yeah, to answer George's question, those of us who are on the executive committee, I think having another call would be good. You were asking about the 3D printing. Did you mean Moravian or Lehigh?
Either one. I know a number of places are publicizing that they are printing 3D masks and various other things. I didn't know if Lehigh area was doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard anything from the Lehigh Valley. I heard something from my hometown up in the Susquehanna section.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't one of the community colleges also have a 3D printing lab? We could check it with them.
I think that's Northampton, the Southside campus.
Yeah, maybe you could ask.
Mhm,
Those might be fun things to highlight.
mhm.
Especially because we just had the talk in February about it. It'd be a nice follow-up to say, oh, by
It
the way,
would be.
they're
Yeah.
doing this.
That was fun, even if I didn't get anything printed.
You didn't get your souvenir?
I did not. Mine
Oh.
was decided it was going to be a stickler that day.
My lab mate kept it when I was up moderating, so I came back and it was gone.
No, mine was going to take another 6 hours to print. So I left it.
Well, Jeremy Hyman's was still printing, and it finished, and I was able to deliver it to him. So there you are.
All right.
This is his element clock face.
I have to say, I think I'm going to end up buying one at some point. So Donna says thank you. I don't know if Donna's heading out, but thank you for joining us, Donna. It was fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much. It was good to get some ideas for Earth Week.
Sorry, Donna, this is Nigel. Donna,
Yes,
what's your
sir.
last name?
Jones.
Oh,
I am
Donna
not
Jones.
local. I stumbled upon your meeting through ACS, but
Okay.
I'm a chemistry and just physical sciences teacher in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So I'm far afield.
Well, we're all together in this Earth Week thing now.
It is.
We are. I have used some of the materials with my 6th grade class. I teach 6th grade through 12th grade
Wonderful.
in physical sciences. So
Wow.
I do a little bit of everything.
Well, and definitely reach out to your local coordinator if you know who that is, or through the website you should be able to find your coordinator for that poetry contest, because that's geared through
Okay.
for K through 12 students, and it's something that they can do remotely.
Right. I mean, I think that's the big thing, is trying to get things that they can do from home. And I mean, it's a great opportunity for families to get involved. You know, when we can send lab activities home, it's an opportunity to not only educate the student, but the family as well. So,
Mhm.
Plus, the session was recorded, so if you want to refer other people in your section to it, it will be available. You could do that.
Yes, it will.
oh, good. Very good.
And I
And
can
if you
also
send-
send
I
out
was
these
gonna say-
slides too. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Nigel, I'd like the slides, but
Yes.
if Donna wants to get links to any of our Greglin's or my things too, I don't know
Yes.
if she's willing to share her email with you.
Oh, sure. I would love that.
What is your email? Just so I get it.
Okay. It is Donna Jones
Yeah.
at mingovalley.org. I'll type
Okay.
it out.
Yeah, we'll put it in the chat. Yeah.
See, we made a new connection because of the.
There we are.
Where in Oklahoma are you?
Tulsa.
Tulsa. Okay.
Well,
I think
thanks
I
for
know
joining
people.
us.
Yeah.
We're kind of we're in the northeast corner, about an hour away from Arkansas, about an hour away from Kansas. So,
Okay.
All right. Was there anything else we need to discuss?
I don't think
So
so.
if anybody comes up with any virtual activity, here in the Lehigh Valley area that you want to put on, be happy to help you with it, or just publicize it, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Get the word out.
Thanks, Nigel.
Okay,
Thank you,
very good,
Nigel.
guys.
Thank you, Nigel, for organizing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. All righty.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Just have to figure out how to log.